You're welcome to the Rudy Asunda Show. I'm fortunate to have with me today a young man who had dreams of becoming an actor very early in his childhood, and he has been able to actualize that dream of being on the big screen. I'm fortunate to have with me Pete James Brough. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How's everything, Pete?
Good. I'm a bit of a thanks for having me on as well.
Now, Pete, you had ambitions of becoming an actor very early in your childhood.
Yeah. Growing up, I've always been a cinephile, loving films. Probably watching films that I shouldn't have been watching at a certain age. The violent films, but it was.
We all did.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think the action films, and it just inspires you. What you get to a certain age, and you're thinking, I wish that was me. I could do stuff like that.
Right.
But you never expect it to happen. It just seems to materialise for you when you actually go chasing it.
Now, talking about the films that you used to watch in your childhood, what were some of these films, and what did it really do to you watching those films?
Some of them were like Predator, RoboCop, but it was the action side of stuff. Some of the actors that were in, like Peter Weller as RoboCop, his work speaks for itself, and some of his performances in like Buckaroo Banzai, not just a real good action film, but a real good actor to do these parts, and that's what does stand out in some of those films, like Back to the Future. And that's one of my favourite films. But obviously, it's not a big action thing, but it's one of those films that it just never ages. And you can watch it time and time again, and that's the type of films that I grew up watching and wanting to make when I hit a certain age.
What went through your mind watching these films? How did you envision yourself and thinking, I really want to act or be like that character in the film?
It was, to be honest, when I was watching them, it was dragging me in the entertainment side of it. It was only when I started to get to say, just as I started to get into my early teens, that was when it was like, I wish I was Marty McFly, or I wish I was Indiana Jones, stuff like that.
Back in the whip.
Yeah, exactly. But it's that action pull, and when you see someone do something that's way too dangerous to be doing, it makes you feel, oh yeah, if he can do it, I can do it. He's invincible. Humans don't suffer pain, and then when you actually do stuff like that, it's like, yeah, that wasn't a good idea.
So Pete, how did you get into acting? What was the defining moment for you?
Well, for a while people were telling me I should do it because I was always, a bit of a clown, performing and making people laugh. If there was a joke to have, I'd have to make that joke, or I'd have to do something to get people's backs up in certain ways. And then people kept telling me, you should do it. And eventually I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna have a look into this. And I ended up checking online just what avenues you take to becoming an actor. And it did say look for your local acting school for any plays. And the local acting school that came up for me was the Actors Lab in Media City in Salford. So I applied there, and I got in there. I think I was there for about 15 months. And then that just sort of opened a lot of doors, pointed me in the right direction to go and get casting calls, agents and stuff like that. And that's pretty much how the door started to open for me. Small parts led to bigger parts, and then into independent films. It was pretty much, didn't happen overnight. It did take a long time before bigger and better parts started coming in.
So what was the defining moment? What was the one gig that you got that made you feel that things are really starting to kick up?
Yeah, it was. To be fair, it wasn't. It was a small, short student film, and I'd been doing pretty much all the same type of roles. It was all like the reasonable person, the sort of the voice of reason, or like the brother that was helping out and stuff like. It was always sort of like samey flat roles, and I ended up going for a role as a schizophrenic serial killer with split personality, And they said, "What's made you come for this?" And I said to him, I need something more edgy, something different. And I got the part, and that was sort of like, that's where things started to change for me, because it went to a lot of festivals, it got some, bit of decent recognition. And that's pretty much where I was like, oh, now I can grow, I can actually go and get meatier stuff out there.
I've watched quite a number of your films, and like you said yourself, you seem to have played quite a number of those roles as a villain and psycho-drama movies.
Yeah.
How do you typically prepare for roles like that?
Normally what I try to do is when I get the scripts, I ignore the nasty part of it. I just try and get the personality off the page. So it's like, there's that sort of like thing where someone said years ago, at some point everyone's lived next door to a bank robber or a serial killer, and you never know.
That's very revealing.
It is
true.
They have to live next door to someone, and you always see the nice side to him, you won't see the evil side to him. So I always try and look at the page and think, if I get that right, the other side will fall into place, because the script will take you down that road with that story anyway. So it's not something that I pay too much attention to until I have to sort of take the avenue into doing something despicable.
It's quite revealing, as I said earlier, about what you said about living next to.
Yeah.
You never know who. How, in your opinion, does this genre of film reflect reality? I think of in recent times we've seen a lot of things going on in society. How does the fiction, which you're familiar with as an actor, how does it reflect reality, in your opinion?
It's starting to get a bit more, the lines are starting to blur a bit more, aren't they? It's like, the more bad things you hear happening, you're looking at films and going, who's writing this? Whose idea was this? It does sort of make you think, what's being put out there? Is this the influence that's making bad things happen? Or is the influence of real things transparent into film? It's a tricky sort of situation, because you're sort of then sitting there thinking, should I make this film? Because if you do that and it starts influencing someone to do something stupid, you sort of start living with regret. I mean, I'm not saying like my films are like massively big and it gets to a lot of audiences, but it's still like there's a responsibility there that you've got to think not to push boundaries too much.
Which role have you had to play where you felt this is a tough one, this really has taken a lot of out of me, my expertise as an actor?
To be fair, I think the last one, it was called Confess, and I had to spend 3 or 4 days tied to a chair in a really hot warehouse, and it was like, it was a bit draining, but it was really enjoyable at the same time. But it was in the middle of summer wearing a really thick jumper tied to a chair. It was like, wow, can we turn the fans on in here?
Well, you've got to sweat it out.
Yeah. That was, other than that, it was a good role. It was a good experience to do the film.
Tell me a bit about the film. What was it about?
So it was a film called Confess, and it was about a doctor he'd misdiagnosed a woman's heart condition. She has a heart attack, and the husband has come back to the doctor for revenge. I was playing the doctor, so he's come to me to get a confession that I made the mistake of misdiagnosing his wife.
Some poetic justice. Getting some justice here.
Yeah. But it was sort of like a real reflection on like not the shortcomings of the NHS, but the short fundings that they've been getting, and how they have to get patients in and out and stuff like that. It's sort of like try to sort of put a bit of a spotlight to say, things aren't rosy because the funding's not there, basically.
Do you ever get worried? And I'm saying this because history reveals that quite a number of prominent actors, some of the big names have had instances where the roles they played as villains actually had a negative impact on their personal life. Do you ever feel anything like that?
Not really. It's like when people first meet me and they find out, I'm in films, I do acting and stuff, and they'll say, "Oh, what have you been in?" And I'll give them a couple of parts that I've been in, and they come back to me after they've seen it and they're like, "Oh, wasn't you nasty in that?" And I'm like, it's almost they're thinking like, "Would he really do that?" I'm like, "No, I'm not like that. I wouldn't do something like that." Would I? No. But it's more professional that it's a problem, because you start to get typecast, and it's like every time you're like, "Oh, I want this part," and they're going, "Yeah, but we want you to play the villain." And you're like, "Oh, okay." But yeah, personally, it's never come to be a problem in any type of way, really.
I'm aware that you, before taking to acting, you did something slightly different. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, carpentry and joinery. So I started that when I was 17, 18. And it was a 2-year course that I did, but after I left college, it's basically like, your college course is done, there you go. Go and find yourself a job. There wasn't really sort of a type of apprenticeship type of thing where they put you out. It was just basically fend for yourself. And at the time I'd finished, recession was about to hit, so carpentry and joinery, that industry took all the trades really. It wasn't really easy to stay in work. You could be in work for 2 years, the door's shut on the place, you're out of work for a long time. Same again when you get your next job. So it was very inconsistent after I'd qualified, and I sort of stuck around doing it for a while, on and off, but it was more just to sort of like get the extra cash in, pay a few bills. But yeah, it was a difficult trade, because, like I said, it was just the right trade, wrong time for me.
I know a lot of people who've had ambitions of being on the big screen, like yourself, like you did when you were growing up. Tend to find it quite challenging navigating their way onto actualizing their dream. How was the journey for you?
Well, it's still going on. I don't think something like this ever stops, because each new film, if you will, is a new challenge. So I mean, you could have a real good film come out, and your next one you might be waiting around for 6 months for, or it might come straight off and it's not a good performance from you. Not that it's a bad performance from you, but you just didn't suit the part. So it's always like it's every time it's a challenge. I mean, I always say I'm an aspiring actor, and even if I was making some Marvel film where I was earning hundreds of millions of pounds, I'd still say I'm an aspiring actor, because every time it's a learning curve, and that's what's so good about this industry. You're learning every time you do something.
I'm eager to know how you were able to summon that inner drive. I'm saying this because I believe it takes a lot of drive to really come out, having an ambition. And I know a lot of people who have ambitions of being on the screen, and it's normally not easy for them to actually get from that place, like you did, break through into being on the screen. And so what would be your guide?
The best thing I can say, the best advice I can give is don't get disheartened, because again, it's like an industry like this. You've got to have thick skin, and you've got to be able to accept rejection, and that's purely. It's not. You can't take it personally, because it's not personal to you. You just didn't look right for the part. You might have given the best audition that they've ever seen. You're just not right for that part. So it's just taking rejection and moving on with confidence that you've not really done anything wrong. It's just be confident in the next time you go in.
Have there been times when you felt rejection, and how did that propel you to greater heights?
I've probably had more rejections than I did get casted. So, but the big one was it's when when you're confident that you've done really well and you're like, yeah, I'm happy with that audition, and then you get, we've gone another way with it, and you're like,
not again.
yeah, but you just pick yourself up, and you got to think that they're just doing what's best for their production. It's not, they can't do what's best for you at the end of the day, and that's all they can do. It's different if they're going to be saying, listen, that was terrible, you never get that. It's more, but we've just gone a different way, but can we keep you in mind for any other future stuff? And you're like, yeah, that's great. But the rejection side of it is, once you've had about 4 or 5, it's just, okay, no problem, move on. As long as I get to see what's been done as well, not to compare, but it's interesting to see that vision come to screen that you've actually had a read for.
There's a lot of talk in recent times about the advent of artificial intelligence and what it means for different industries, and the filmmaking industry is no exception. I know we're all bracing ourselves for this impact that everybody's talking about. From the point of view of an actor, what is your perception of this whole thing?
I think it'll be, if there's going to be a big impact, it'll only be short term. I mean, and that's only because when you've got an actual human being in a film, I was talking about this last night, weirdly enough, I call it perfect imperfections, where you can make a mistake and it'll stay in the film because it looks natural. It looks like, I mean, me and you talking now, I could sit here and forget what I'm going to say next, and I'll have a pause, and then got it. And if that happens on screen, it looks very natural. It looks sort of like something that would happen in everyday life. If you've got an AI version of that's gone out the window. It'll be soulless. So I don't think it'll last that long. But you've got directors. I don't think they've got to go down that road. You know, if you've wrote a film and you're going to direct it, there's no labour of love there. If it's basically just whack it into a computer and let it fire something back at me, it's not the same.
What are the things that you do when you're not really?
I like to spend a lot of time in the gym. Okay. I used to play football, but I'm past that now. So, but it's just something that can keep my mind busy, really.
Would you say that the exercises, as in being in the gym, which you referred to, has helped your acting in any way? How has it impacted, or how does it help you as an actor?
It helps because it's like what I said. If you got rejected from something, you go back there, and it's almost like a mental rebuild as well as a physical rebuild. Going and doing even just a workout, maybe a run, stuff like that. It's almost like recharging your batteries. They always say what I can't remember the saying. It's like a healthy mind, healthy body. So if you can go into a next audition after being refreshed, you're probably going to find you're going to get it.
But normally a lot of actors from the UK make it big or develop to a point, and they want to really extend,
like into the US,
to Hollywood and other things. Do you have such ambitions?
I wouldn't say no to it. It'd be nice to go and do some work over it. I mean, personally, my ambition is I've got a film that I'm trying to get fleshed out, my own personal film that I'd love to get made by next year. I'm hoping to get a script done by the summer, try and get financing, and hopefully get that film made next year. That is my immediate ambition and goal.
Peter, I know that a lot of prominent actors have spent years acting, and then somehow they find themselves wanting to direct films. What do you think about that?
I think I can see why people do it, because obviously they've been taking direction for so long. They've got like this. They've got it tapped into them. They want their own project. They want to start pushing when they can see someone's acting in a certain way in a scene with them, you can probably think that they're sat there with the nuts and bolts turning, thinking, I want them to do it like this, but I can't. I'm not the director. So I can understand the jump in it. I mean, I don't know if I'd be tempted to do it myself unless it was definitely 100% my own project, But
do you have plans to do that?
Go into directing?
Yes.
I probably would, yeah. Yeah, I think I would. I'd probably, like it was when I mentioned the film that I'm hoping to get made. I would probably not want to direct that because I'd want an objective opinion for someone to sort of take the story that I've got and just tweak it, so I'm not sort of like going, this has to be done my way or the highway. You want a bit of freedom, a bit of a fluidity to a production.
From the point of view of an actor, is it your opinion that your expertise or years of experience in acting would make you a better director?
I think it does. I think not just for me personally, but I think for anyone that's been making films for a good few years, you do tend to sort of get that sort of that feel for something like that. I mean, it's like if you work in a company and you start getting promoted. You get promoted because you actually know it that well. It's the same with a film, really. I wouldn't necessarily call going from actor to director being promoted, but it's the same sort of progression, if you want to put it in that way. But yeah, I mean, I think directing is it looks like a headache from when I've seen people do it. It's sort of like, you know, it's just the full production that you're in control of.
Finally, you started out very young, dreaming of becoming an actor, and you probably had a stint doing something different, and you actually found yourself on the big screen acting. Yeah. What would you say to many people out there who have had this ambition and haven't been able to actualize it? How can they come out of the shell?
I think first of all, just do a quick Google search of your nearest acting school, any type of like just small plays, not small theatres. Get to go and look at one of them, still see if you feel like you're enjoying it, and then try and get into an acting school, even if it's just your standard one night a week acting class. You'll get a feel for it, and you'll know whether you still want to do it after that. And then it's just basically it's an upward trajectory of that, because you get pointed in the right direction. People are really, really good to each other in this field, and it's, you know, you'll get a phone call. Believe me, if someone gets a part in a film and they need an actor because someone dropped out, you're pretty much going to get a phone call off them, because that's how tight it is. It's like I said, they look after each other in a community like you know, this field. But I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't stop at one rejection. You know, take it, learn from it, move on.
Pete James Brough, it's been an honour having you on this show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on there. Cheers, everyone.